have nothing on my skin right now, so let's get started. I always start off with lip plumper on my lips, and this is the Too Faced lip injection. This helps my lips look extremely full and plump by the time I get to my lips. This is my absolute favorite lip plumper. I feel like it's the strongest one that I've tried. I have really dry skin, so I like to go in with Merit Beauty Instant Glow Serum before my moisturizer. So this is the first step. I have to shake it a little bit. The bottle kind of squirts, so I like to dispense it away from my face. I've noticed that this gives my skin like a really glowy and dewy look, almost like glass skin, and it definitely helps with the moisture since I do have really dry skin. And then don't forget about the neck. Be gentle around the eyes. It really does add the nicest glow. Next, I'm going in with moisturizer. I prefer medical grade skincare, so I'm using the Glymed Comfort Cream. And then just apply it everywhere. I think I put too much on my hands. Skin prep is the most important thing that you can do for a flawless base. For primer, I'm using Makeup Forever Hydro Booster, and I like to use a lot. I just like to rub it in with my fingers. I do prefer my fingers for a lot of makeup application. I like to go in with ABH Eyeshadow Primer. I apply this around my smile lines because I have really deep smile lines that crease very easily. I'm blending that out with an Hourglass concealer brush. Sometimes I like to go underneath my eyes and on my chin because I get crease lines right here. For foundation, I'm using McGrath. Apply it with my fingers before going in with a brush. Lightly massage it around the crevices of my nose. I've been really loving this Dips brush as my foundation brush. I like to just lightly tap everything in. And you can build as much as you need with this foundation. I personally only use about 2 to 3 pumps. And you're gonna wanna drag it down a little bit to your neck. For foundation, I'm using Hourglass in the shade Birch. Right underneath my eyes, right here, on my chin. And I like to cut my cheeks. Back to the Hourglass concealer brush to blend all of this out. And I mostly like to tap instead of drag the brush on my face. I apply this right under my cheekbone, the side of my nose as well. It looks crazy right now, but we're gonna blend everything out, so bear with me. Fenty Beauty Contour Stick in the shade Amber along my cheekbones. A good rule of thumb is kind of starting where your ear is right here and following this line down to the corner of your mouth. That's typically where your cheekbones would be, or at least it is on my face. I like to go down my jaw right here. And I like a very contoured forehead. For my nose, I kind of like to do a reverse contour. I like to blend out the contour with a Dibs brush. It's the same brush that I use for my foundation, but I have 2 so that I don't mix it up. Lightly tap and blend everything in. And for gel contour, I like to drag it down my neck. I always have a little handheld mirror with me so that I can see everything up close. Forehead, blend this into your hairline. And then I lightly go over the majority space of my forehead. To blend out my nose, I'm going to use this skinnier Patrick Ta brush, just so it's a little bit more precise. Then I go back to my foundation brush and go over my entire face, starting with my under eye area just to seamlessly blend everything together. I'm going to move down here, go over my chin, and my forehead. My nose. This helps eliminate any harsh lines because I was looking a little crazy before. So for blush, I'm using an Hourglass brush and Simi Haze Red Moon blush. And apply this to the high points of my cheek. I like to drag it up to the side of my face. With whatever's left over on the brush, I like to go underneath my eyes. I like to apply at the bridge of my nose. If I ever see any harsh lines, I'll just go back to the foundation brush and kind of go over that area, and it helps blend it out. I also like to go back to the concealer brush and re-outline my cheeks so they look a little bit more defined and snatched, and the side of my nose. I'm going to use concealer as my eyeshadow base and blend this out. It's okay if you get the concealer on your face, we'll fix it later. Using a large fluffy brush, this is the Morphe M441. I'm going to pick up this color on the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions palette. Make sure there's no creasing before you apply. Apply this shade all over this outer part of your eye. I kind of like to go in dabbing and slight swooping motions. Before I start this eye, I'm going to fix this area where I got concealer in my face with my foundation brush. Make sure there's no creasing before you start, as always. And applying the same shade in that area. You can reapply as many times as you want if you want it darker. This is Morphe M433, and I'm going to pick up these two colors right here and mix them as my transition shade. Apply it in this area. I'm staying around this area right here for this color. I like to go back to the previous brush and lightly blend all of this out. I'm going to pick up the darkest color with a dense fluffy brush. This is B11 by Spectrum. I'm going to go into this dark brown. Apply this on the very outer corner of my eye to give it dimension. Always start with less because it's easier to apply more than fix a mistake. I have to tell you that I don't watch makeup tutorials, so I don't know how you describe all these steps, but I'm trying my best. Maybe that will be my homework so I can pick up on makeup language. I like to go back to the previous two brushes and kind of just blend everything out so it's a little bit more seamless. Use the brush in its designated area only so that you're not spreading all sorts of colors across your eyelid. It's pretty bright in here, so I'm gonna really darken this up. This is what we have so far. Then I'm going to cut my crease with a flat brush like this one. To cut my crease, I'm going to use the tiniest amount of concealer. Very, very, very tiny. I'm going to put that on my hand. Use a very, very tiny amount. Having a little mirror by your side really helps for this step. Just find your natural crease line. Switching the brush, I don't like this brush. I found the actual brush that I use to cut my crease, and this is the Morphe S402. Anytime I need more concealer, I just apply it on a different area of my hand because I don't want the colors to mix with the bottle, if that makes sense. Picking up a little bit of concealer. This one is skinnier compared to the one that I was using on accident before, so something like this really helps. And take your time with this. It's gonna take practice for you to find out what crease shape you like for your face. Different shapes give you different illusions, and that's like the fun part of makeup. Use as little concealer as possible to avoid creasing or any cakiness. Moving on to the second eye. This step definitely takes a little bit of practice, and just remember that nothing needs to be perfect and that your eyes are not identical twins, they're sisters. Next, I'm going into the white shade with this e.l.f. eyeshadow brush. I've had it for a very, very long time and I always gravitate towards it for little things like this. Make sure there's no creasing before you go in. Lightly pat the white shade over the concealer just to set it. Moving on to the other side and blend out all of the creases. Back to our lovely two blending brushes with no extra product on it, and just lightly go over this area right here to blend everything out. To use the smaller fluffy brush, the one that you use for the transition shade, and kind of get closer to the crease line. For eyeliner, I'm using this angle brush, but any brush like this is fine. I'm going into the black shade. I just like to follow the natural shape of my eye like that. I like to do this off camera because it's really hard on camera, but I'm going to try my best for you guys. We're going to smoke this out and clean up underneath, so it really doesn't need to be perfect. Using a random fluffy brush, I've used all sorts of brushes for this. I'm really just going to blend and buff this out so it's really diffused and smoky. You kind of just want it to like blend into your lashes. Before I move on, I'm going to do my brows with Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Brown. I don't really like to do a whole lot to my brows because they are uneven and I don't understand them. Set them in place with ABH Brow Gel. Back to the eyes, we're going to clean everything up, so just blend underneath your eyes. Draw a line right under your wing to clean up everything, just like that. Now that everything is nice and clean, I'm going to set my under eyes. I'm using a powder puff and Pat McGrath Baby Pink under eye powder. Pick up a little bit on the powder puff like this. Before you start, make sure any creases are blended out. I like to literally position my head like this to avoid any creasing. Go along this wing line. Let's do this side. Don't worry about the powder, I'm going to fix it later. Let's go back to the eyes. I'm going to go back to the brush that I used to smoke out the eyeliner. Put everything on a towel so that it's cleaner. And I'm going to pick up these two colors that we used for the transition shade and lightly go underneath your eyes. Make sure you're very light-handed here because you don't want to cause any wrinkles underneath your eye area. Doing the same thing on this side. I'm using a flat definer brush like this one. picking up the black color. I'm applying this to the inner corner of my eyes. I like when it's a little messy because it looks smoky. I like this very dark, but obviously you can go as dark as you want. Back to the black and put some in this area so that it meets your wing. I'm gonna blend it out in a second. Back to the brush that we used to apply the eyeshadow right here, and I'm gonna blend out this black. Lightly blend this inner corner area. I kind of want to darken the eyeshadow, so I'm going to use that flat definer brush and draw on some parts of my wing and then smoke it back out. Back to this brush and just smoke it out. Make sure your lashes are curled, and for mascara I'm using YSL. I like to apply just a few coats so that it looks wispy and not overdone. But we've got, these are my all-time favorite lashes by Lilly Lashes in Houston, and I cut like a little tiny strip that size and put it on the very ends of my eyes. Unfortunately, they're discontinued. Pop these suckers on. I don't know what this is called, but you use this to clamp your real and the fake lashes, and it like makes them blend so seamlessly. Going back to my face with the powder puff and the McGrath under eye powder, I'm gonna set my smile line, so blend these out first. Baking my face with Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom. The same powder puff is fine. Cutting out my cheeks first. Going over my smile line area, my chin, the other side. I really like to use the powder to shape my cheeks. Under my eyes as well. Underneath the wing, side of my nose to snatch it. I just like to cut everything the way that I want my face to be shaped. I'm gonna use the other side of the dips brush to just lightly dust everything off. I did leave my forehead powderless. For bronzer, I'm using She's Sculpted by Patrick Ta and the Patrick Ta brush. Let's go over my cheeks. I like to hold the brush like this, lightly over the bridge of my nose. Obviously, my jaw. Just pat and build as I go. Blush, I'm gonna go back into the Simi Haze cream blush, the same Hourglass brush. Too much on, so let me put it on my hand. Layer this on top of my cheeks. And with whatever is left over on the brush, I like to go underneath my eyes. On my nose. If you ever feel like you overdid something, I like to just go back to my foundation brush and lightly blend everything out. And after I do all of that, I like to go back and redefine my cheekbones. Dust everything off. See any harsh lines right here, you can go to a fluffy brush. Sometimes I use this one, sometimes I use something this thin, and just blend this out so it doesn't look as harsh. Wiping off the lip plumper from earlier. Concealer brush and go over my lips. This is one of my favorite, if not all-time favorite lip combinations. This is Soar by MAC and Fortune Cookie by NYX. I'm just gonna start outlining my lips. I like to overline my Cupid's bow. Now for Fortune Cookie. If there's any line that I want to fix, I use this angled detailed brush and I go to my foundation. I really just pick up whatever product is like right here, or I'll like slightly kind of pump it out. Pick it up like that. Put it on my hand to remove any excess. Okay, I want some more blush actually. I like to redraw on my beauty marks. I like using Urban Decay Demolition. It's really nice and dark. It's super pigmented, so be careful if you use this. I have 13 of these on my face. We're gonna do bottom mascara after setting spray, otherwise the mascara starts rubbing off under my eyes. I like to mix these, they're my two favorites. I'm almost out of the Charlotte Tilbury. Go in with the Charlotte Tilbury, and this helps bring back any moisture, hydration to my face since my skin is really dry. And then I go in with this and it like makes everything look matte, so I have like this matte but still dewy look going on, and I love it. Just a few sprays and you're good. Try not to get your eye area. Fan it to dry everything off really fast. And then the one size setting spray. Before I do bottom mascara, I'm gonna go in with the powder puff and pat this area so that the mascara doesn't transfer. I'm using YSL mascara. It's my favorite. Just a few coats is fine. I had to save the best for last. This is Makeup by Mario Quartz. It's literally one of my favorite shimmers. If you saw the video, then you know why. Pick up a little bit with your finger, it's pretty strong. And literally apply this all over your eye. Gives you the prettiest sparkles when you move. There's no color to it and you're literally just applying sparkles to your face. Dust off the powder underneath my eyes. This is the finished look. I also want to show you the look in slightly different lighting. This is an even more dim lighting. Linked all the products that I used down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching.